Hello friends, today our topic is Supplier Relationship Management, that is SRM. Supplier Relationship Management is a comprehensive approach to managing and enterprise interactions with the organizations that supply the goods and services. It uses the goal of supplier relationship management, SRM, is to streamline and make more effective the processes between an enterprise and its suppliers, just as customer relationship management, that is CRM, is intended to streamline and make more effective the processes between an enterprise and its customers. SRM includes both business practices and software and is part of the information flow component of supply chain management, that is SCM. SRM practices create a common frame to reference to enable effective communication between an enterprise and suppliers who may use quite different business practices and terminology. As a result, SRM increases the efficiency of processes associated with acquiring goods and services, managing inventory, and processing materials. According to proponents, the use of SRM software can lead to lower production cost and a higher quality, but lower priced end products. SRM products are available from a number of vendors, including 12 technologies, Manugistics, and PeopleSoft and SAP. The essentials of supplier relationship management. In virtually every industry, the role of the supplier has radically expanded over the past decade. Today, there are cases where almost every aspect of product development and operations has been outsourced to a new breed of suppliers. Suppliers have gone from simply being invited to the design team meeting to becoming the design team. The role of suppliers has also been changed by the need for assured supply, greater outsourcing, supply chain management, and vendor managed inventories have all increased the risk that a critical component may not be available when it comes time to make an original equipment manufacturers, that is OEM, original equipment manufacturers shipment. When this happens to a major product line at the time of a quarter, we often read about it in the newspaper as the supplier short shipment is called as the reason the company missed its quarter. The result is a fundamental power shift in the world of manufacturing. Suppliers are no longer simply supplying, they are critical players in the success of the business. For a growing list of features in OEM products, suppliers now own the intellectual capital that goes into creating the products. A few examples of these are computer monitors, automotive braking systems, and passenger seating. If a supplier fails to develop and deliver competitive features, the OEM product is no longer competitive. If the supplier doesn't allocate adequate supply, OEMs cannot ship and take revenue for their products. The traditional systems that have been used for product development and procurement don't work anymore. Meanwhile, the potential downside, cost, and risk associated with managing supplier relationships has skyrocketed. These factors fuel the requirements for a fresh approach to managing relationship with supplier. This tend this trend toward more outsourcing and greater supplier value has also changed the economics of today's corporations. More and more companies have purchased, spend exceeding 50% of their top line revenue. There are also growing concerns over the increased risk associated with aggressive outsourcing. In the old days, supply risk could be offset through split awards and effective management of second sources. But the trend towards suppliers designing, building, and even directly shipping complete subsystems has nearly eliminated the second source option. Any time a supplier falls short on delivery or doesn't get a critical subsystem developed in time for a new product's launch, the top line suffers. This makes supplier relationship management or SRM the best investment a company can make in design and procurement. It is the only system that can simultaneously reduce cost and risk. Now, the challenge of strategic sourcing. As the role of the supplier has expanded, a new business vocation has emerged: strategic sourcing. The wizards of strategic sourcing are the commodity managers who must make a plethora of supply decisions every day, as well as rethink all of the supply decisions that have been made in the past and immediately act on these new decisions. Unfortunately, the facts associated with strategic sourcing have historically been impossible to collect on a timely basis. Now, spend aggregations or aggregations. Where is spend going across the entire enterprise? What is being spent with each supplier? And how much is being spent on each commodity? Although these are often the most fundamental facts a company uses for strategic sourcing, they are seldom easy to collect. Companies have multiple procurement system or instance of the same system, multiple supplier masters, and inconsistent commodity coding schemes. Spend aggregations facts are often the most powerful negotiations tools a buyers can have. Buyers can knock 50% off the cost of purchases simply by understanding their true overall spend on a given commodity and using that information to cut a better contract with a preferred supplier. Materials consolidations. How many uh, the challenges is to establish clean, rich content about what a company buys and then analyze fundamental equivalence to determine preferred varieties. Studies have shown that duplicate parts cost to maintain one major supplier or computer company successfully reduced to the variety of parts it purchased. Now, demand and forecast deviation. From a negotiation perspective, it's useful to understand where you have been spending your money in the past. But the real key is to understand where you will be spending your money in the future because it is never the same. The more variability exists in your business, the less likely it is that you will buy the same things from the same suppliers in the future. When this happens, you invariably pay more for the volumes that increased and you fail to live up to your commitments for the volumes that decreases, missing out on the lower unit prices you negotiated in the past. New product design changes. Product design teams regularly come up with something new that must be sourced before a new product can go into production. That often means introducing a new supplier. If the sourcing team identifies these new requirements in time, they can identify potential sources, negotiate contracts, and secure volume materials. If they find out too late, the new product can't ship and everyone scrambles to rush in high priced materials or design out the hard to source parts. Now, contract performance. Every good sized company has hundreds to thousands of contracts in place with its suppliers. Occasionally, companies actually buy according to their contracts. Most of the time, they do not. Demand changes, engineering changes, and suppliers' short shipments often result in contracts failing to meet negotiated volumes. The actual transactions that are booked against a contract must then be monitored and alerts must be established to flag significant anomalies. This becomes very difficult when companies have thousands of contracts and dozens of procurement systems with inconsistent content, item, and supplier masters. Now, supplier performance. Even when all of the right contracts are in place and demand forecasts are accurate, suppliers can still fail to deliver, severely demanding your business. When it happens frequently, you have to bad suppliers and you need to demand improvement. More move your business to a higher performing suppliers. The same is true for quality. You also need to identify the suppliers who are providing more than just one time delivery and steer more business their way. Now, suppliers market opportunities. They understand alternative sourcing opportunities in the outside market. You need to be able to quickly prepare a request for information, package, and test the supply markets. It often requires sophisticated what if analysis to understand the total cost of switching your spend from an existing underperforming supplier to a new source. The basic facts required to source strategically are diverse and often difficult to collect a large multi division enterprise. Because of these, they are seldom available and never current, armed with fragmented and out of date information. Buyers must strive to negotiate the right contracts at the best terms possible and hope nothing goes wrong. Now, the power of single view. As SRM solutions were developed, it became clear that the workflows that create, execute, and sustain optimal suppliers relationship are integrally related to one another. They cross the traditional boundaries of design, procurement, and manufacturing and extend out into the supplier environment. They also across the physical barriers of multiple divisions, plants, purchasing, and design centers. In the existing system that managed all of the supplier information and transactions, there were a very large number of disparate systems that did not talk to one another. There was also duplicate and inconsistent data across this system. Getting a complete view of a part, a supplier, or bill of materials for outsourced part required shifting through fragmented data in a number of different types of legacy system. What is needed in a single view of all of the processes that face the suppliers? This single view must be able to cut across functional disciplines and cross physical barriers as well. At the same time, any new solution has to leverage all of the legacy systems that are already in place. But are SRM system really worth investing in? Well, there are some significant benefits. First, SRM provides the ability to strategically manage all aspects of the supplier's relationship to reduce the cost and risk associated with the kind of outsourcing practices seen today. SRM tools help companies create, execute, and sustain their sourcing strategy. The supplier must win tool. SRM solutions can also help create incentives for your suppliers. A number of OEM centric initiatives designed to support extended outsourcing have failed for a very simple reason. There was no win for suppliers. Suppliers often operate on narrow margin and face fierce competitions. They struggle to differentiate themselves and are unwilling to invest in something that commoditize their offerings such as auctioning. So that's the end of the video, my friends. If you like my blogs, please subscribe and share my channel. Thanks again for your precious time. Have a good day.